I've been in banking for more than 30 years, primarily in investment banking or wholesale banking, as well as in the past in commodities. I've also been privileged to have started in China back in 1995, and also worked a large part of my career in Asia, Singapore, as well as in India and Hong Kong, and had the opportunity also to often visit China and also see the enormous growth story that China is showing to the rest of the world. Now, here in Rabobank, our main office is in Shanghai. We have some 70 people approximately working, mostly focused on our food and agri story, as well as export finance and servicing our network clients as well as Dutch customers in our international desk. Rabobank is a cooperative bank and was actually founded by farmers, and I think that's also very interesting to see the project now we're involved with, which is for farmers.
Okay, about the Agri3 Farm project. So what is Agri3 and what kind of roles would Rabobank China and Agri3 and the Chongqing Agricultural Chain Corporation play in helping the local farmers?
Well, Agri3 is a great initiative. It is an initiative which involves blended finance, and Agri3 was set up together with the United Nations Fund. Also, the Dutch government is involved with this, and very much there to provide blended finance to farming projects that are applicable to three main goals. One of them you've already mentioned is the alleviation of farmers from poverty. That's a very important one. The other one is very much related to forestry, and the other part of the Agri Fund very much looks at sustainable farming.
This is the first Agri3 farm project in China and even in Asia. So I was wondering why choose Chongqing and why red pepper?
Well, that's a very good question. Of course, it is related to the fact that we, from our trading commodity finance side, were in contact with CACC, and via that we learned of the fact that they were supporting farmers, and that's how the discussion started. And of course, our team is aware of the blended finance opportunities that the Agri3 Fund provides, and yeah, that became a match. There was a need, there was an interest, and that's how we started the discussion, and why this became a project for the red pepper farmers that was of interest. And CACC has been providing assistance to them in terms of fertilizers, products, seeds, and also in this project is providing a sustainable pricing and helping the farmers to improve their income, and thereby helping the farmers to move out of the poverty levels. In a way, if you look at Rabobank, it's also very much, which is part of our DNA. In Rabobank, we are very much focused on sustainability, on environmental social governance, and these type of projects are really very much part of the focus that we have as an organization.
So how exactly will the Agri3 Fund help the local farmers to increase their income, and how will the fund meet the UN Sustainable Development Goals?
Okay, that's a very good question. And when we looked at this project, we also very much looked, and that's also very important for the Agri3 Fund, in how that ties into the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So in this respect, we looked at the goal of doubling agricultural productivity, as well as very much as ensuring that we have a sustainable food production system. So these are the issues that we looked very much in this project. Now, if we look at that into a little bit more detail, then via the help of CACC, we have seen that we've been able to move the farmers from crops with lower value to red pepper, which is a higher value crop. And also doing that in a sustainable manner in regards to inputs as well as to the outputs that the farmers are used to. And that also with the price level guarantee that CACC has provided, provides the farmers with a clear income perspective, and that income is higher than the crops that they were involved with before, and thereby assists in the goal of helping the farmers get out of the poverty trap.
The Information Office of the State Council, China's cabinet, just issued a white paper titled Poverty Alleviation, China's Experience and Contribution. So I wonder, do you have any comment on this white paper? What do you think of China's poverty alleviation success?
No, well, first of all, I think this is very important. It's great that we move certain parts of the population, in this case the farmers, out of poverty, to far more sustainable levels, and thereby increasing their wealth, their living quality, which is also important in terms of sustainability. This is not only a Chinese problem, this is also a global problem. All over the world there are still large parts of the population, particularly in the farming community. If you look at India, if you look at Africa, as well as other parts of the world, where we need to help improve the income basis. And that is again also related to the fact that our population size is increasing. By 2050 we're going to be anywhere between 9.7 and 10 billion in population, and that will require food production to increase by 70%. Now, if you look at food production today, that is accountable for roughly 24% of the carbon footprint. And there are some studies that even suggest that it is 30%. So if food production needs to double by 70%, that will also have a huge impact on the carbon footprint and climate change. Therefore, doing this by sustainable practices and according to the sustainable development goals that have been formulated by the United Nations, I think it's very important, and I think China is playing a very important role in that.
So do you think the lessons and practices China has learned in poverty alleviation is applicable to other countries in the world?
Yes, it is, and then I think we need to share as globally the lessons that we learn from this, and because traditionally the economies certainly of developing countries are changing as a result of urbanization, and there are fewer and fewer farmers willing to farm, and as I mentioned, food production needs to increase, so we need also to ensure that farmers will have a sustainable outlook for the future.
Okay, last question. What's the next step for Rabobank China, and are there any Agri3 Fund project that we can expect in the nearest future?
I think this is a project, and I think also with the publicity that news organizations as yourself are giving to this, as the other media, the attention that is being given to this, will hopefully result in more projects. As mentioned, the total Agri3 Fund, together with the United Nations and Rabobank, as well as other parties go together, is about $1 billion. What we are financing now is still relatively small, but there is the possibility to leverage that further and also set examples why this is so important, to help farmers increase their income, to be engaged in sustainable farming practices, and I think that will be very much important also for creating and growing a better world together. And that is why Rabobank is very much focused on these type of projects as well.
Well, that's basically everything I wanted to ask, but since this is your first time here in Chongqing, so I had to ask you, what's your general impression of the city? How are you getting used to the food here? Have you tried hot pot?
No, I'm vegan, so I only eat plant protein. But of course I'm familiar with hot pot. I'm also familiar with the spicy food and enjoy that. I also hear there's a lot of mushrooms are also growing in this area. But I think my first observations, this is an impressive city, with the two rivers coming together, the enormous number of bridges that you have here, and also the buildings, being the way they are built, reminds me a little bit of Hong Kong in certain cases. So my first impressions are very positive on Chongqing.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people call Chongqing, the little Hong Kong.
Ah, okay. That I was not aware of, but I've also lived in Hong Kong, so from there I share that observation.
Okay, Mr. Powell, thank you very much for your time.
You're more than welcome.